It's really to help them gain exposure, to build a fan base, to generate income. Um, what usually happens early on is an artist will end up playing the same places over and over again. They might have a camp that they do, and a church every week that they do, and a youth event or like a Disciple Now kind of thing, or a festival. And it's really the role of the agent to help grow from those opportunities to other opportunities, whether that's finding the leads that come out of those performances to follow up with them, or if you're playing in Jacksonville, Florida, cold calling Panama City and Orlando and Miami to try to educate those buyers and those churches and those colleges on you as a band, you as an artist, and to try to build more shows. And ultimately, you want to see every year your amount of dates go up and your amount of money go up. So if you're a young band that does 25 shows your first year, to accomplish 50 the next year is kind of what the role of the agent is. Touring is a really important part of an indie artist career, or any artist career really. It's become the the sole source of revenue for most of the artists. So they need to have some element of an agent right away, in my opinion. Usually that takes on the form of one of the members of the band or a couple of members of the band coming together to achieve what they need to from a touring perspective. Sometimes it's a fan or a believer in the band, a youth pastor, or someone with connections that will be willing to take on the role of going after dates for them by using their connections. Sometimes it's them hiring someone, like a college student or someone almost out of college, to just dedicate themselves to their marketing of their band and the education of their band or group to the decision makers that are booking the shows. So probably the one misconception is that people think they have to be on an agency and at an agency, and I think that's one of the last pieces of the puzzle that a band or an artist needs, is a booking agent at an agency. Once they have built a following, once they've built a national platform, at that point, then it makes sense for you to become one of many artists listed on a roster of talent. It's going to be obvious if you're an artist or a band that is a fan of other artists and other bands. You're going to try to gravitate to working with the agencies that represent the styles and the likeness that you have as a band. So that's pretty obvious. If you're a singer-songwriter, a guy like Brandon Heath, you might go, who represents Brandon Heath? And you might try to take those meetings to go, he obviously gets what Brandon does, so he'll get what I do. So that's a common thing. But usually at that stage, they've accomplished a relationship with a manager or a label to help develop them. And 9 times out of 10, they will help in that decision in placing them with meetings that will then allow them to determine who's right for them. You can do that by seeing who they've worked with in the past, if they've worked with anyone, and by looking at the calendars of those artists. And that's not necessarily to say that that's going to determine it right off the bat, but my personal feeling is it's a gut feeling that this person and you connect, and that you can walk away from meeting them believing that they love the music and that they're going to go out and do their best to expose the band as best they can. Usually you're just going to know in the first 3 to 6 months if they're really who they say they are and that they're really as passionate as they say they are. Mm-hmm. That's why I usually encourage a young band, whether they're signing with me on a national level or with an individual, to continue to go into the deal, brokering the deal with the agent, that for the first 6 months to a year, the band will continue to book themselves, and it'll be the job of the new agent to come around those dates, because you don't want to stop what you've built in that transition, and it gives you the opportunity to to see if they're going to do everything that they promised they would. So. Well, back in the day, it was how many MySpace friends do you have, or views do you have, and YouTube views on your videos, and basically proving your fan base is an important element to an agent. And really, for me, it's more about how good is your live show, and how good are you at connecting with not only the audience, but are you going to be an ambassador to the promoter that I align you with to try to get the rebooking. So to me, there's nothing more valuable or impressive than if I walk into a showcase or a show or see somebody at a festival and go, okay, they were great live, I love their songs, and you can see them networking with the people and being accessible. And because it's a tough road in a small world if you're just booking this person in one time and they're gone. You've got to have repeat business. You've got to have them extend a performance and a relationship with the promoters that will allow them to come back and build year after year. So that's what I look for, is how great are they live? Do I love the music? And are they doing it on a professional level, even without being on a professional level? Mm-hmm. Like one of the worst things that happened to me is somebody will say that they're a pop rock band, but they're also Christians, but they want to do the mainstream thing. And then when I divulge that I just do Christian music, then they flip their story and say, hey, no, we're really passionate about just doing Christian music. And so I think being true to yourself in the dialogue that you have, whether that's the email you send or the phone call you have with them, and being truthful about the amount of shows you play and the things you do, because ultimately you're going to find out. And if somebody says, yeah, we're playing 100 shows a year, but they don't share with you that they're on staff at a church and every time they lead worship on Sunday morning they're calling that a show, then the agent's going to find out and the credibility is going to be, taken down a notch. So that's just a real turnoff in terms of artists trying to hype themselves without the real hype. So it's just better to kind of move forward in the in the way that being honest and truthful about where you're at as an artist. You just want to kind of be able to reach out and introduce yourself, and maybe introduce your music through a link or an attachment. There's no real need to send physical CDs and packets anymore. And then I appreciate more than anything, there's not so much I hate, it's just I more appreciate being invited to a show. Like if you're a band who's serious or an artist who's serious and you're looking for an agent, then you should be able to put together a show here in Nashville and invite me to it. But I would say 99% of the time it's a band from Minnesota who believes they need an agent, but they've never played outside of Minnesota, and they want me to represent them, and they get angry when I don't, but they can't even put together a run of shows on their own from Minnesota to Tennessee back to Minnesota. So I think, that to me is a turnoff when someone expects me to be able to jump into their career when really they're not able to jump into their own career.